Haidong! In this video, we're going to learn drills about blocking crosscuts. So crosscuts are the least likely of the cuts you're going to be experiencing in sparring for one major reason, right? So if we're fighting here, right? If you're in guard, you can be the one who wins, right? So if I'm here and you see me do this, what is your opponent going to do? Yeah, stab me, hit me in the head. This is first of all the biggest telegraph, and you can just like easily murder the person who's trying to do it, right? Which is why crosscuts are usually used for clears in the beginning, right? If you're being sassy, I'm like, go away, and then we can kind of regain distance. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is as a second move. I'm gonna do a variant, so I guess transparency. This is actually a HEMA move, again, from my teacher in Reading, right? But the idea is if we actually do both down cuts in the middle and he pushes me offline, I can actually use a cross cut here, right? And that's going to be very, very bad for him, but it is a good use of a cross cut, noticing that it is a counter as opposed to the first move. However, I'm sure there'll be people out there who are going to think it's a grand idea to start with that. So we're going to deal with a few basic blocks. We're actually going to do two passive blocks and one active block. So the first passive block, so if you've ever done a federation combination for the block, I'm going to take it and tweak it. So if, let me just show you what that is. So according to the federation, the way you block a crosscut is doing this. Noticing that my sword is perfectly up and down, but if he gives me a crosscut and he's not kind about it, it's going to just follow through anyway. Knows I'm collapsing, he can blow through it anyway, let alone this side. If I'm here and he gives me that crosscut, it's going to just slide right underneath. Even if he did maintain contact with the sword, my sword's going to go lost this way. Just don't do that. Just don't. Perfectly upright is a non-safe structure. Just like with everything else, a nice kind of 60 degrees or 45 degrees is going to be much better. One way to defend a crosscut is almost like you're going to crosscut it in return. So if you see me see that crosscut, you're going to come in this way, noticing I'm going to be blocking with the middle of my strong of the sword to make sure that I actually catch it. With the tip going more forward, just in case he does try to follow through, my guard is going to catch it, which is very strong for me. Versus if it's very upright, he's just going to blow right through it. So if he gives me that crosscut, and I come in this way, first of all, I can try to navigate it so my tip is aiming for like his upper thigh. If I'm really being mean, I'm going to aim away from you so don't actually hit you. I can just slide in and stab him into like the corner of the hip, the thigh, all that fun stuff. Now this isn't like the first gut reaction, but it's kind of like the lowest tier crosscut block. It's also going to work on the other side. So if you give me that crosscut, I'll be here, noticing that I can knock right up, which is why this is not necessarily a great block for that. But it is the most similar to Gumdo. So start with that one, and we're going to do ones that actually work. So if we give me those crosscuts, so you're going to be here, other side, here, here, here. Noticing that if he decided to cut ever so slightly higher as I'm blocking here, I'm done, right? So this is not a great block, so if I do the same against you, because I can. So if I'm here and you block, fall through, block, fall through, block, fall through, and if I was mean, I can try like force my way in, and it's actually not super difficult. So I'm mostly showing you that one so you have an idea of what is being taught. It can work in a very specific circumstance if you really know what level they're cutting and how strong you can probably meet them. However, we want to win here, right? So if you give me that crosscut, the alternative is actually just sink a little bit deeper and actually have more of an upright 45 block this way. So the reason for this is, notice I'm still using the strong of my sword to absorb the motion, and if I want to, I can aim for that throat, or if I'm being kinder, I can just like let it happen and slide back this way. So noticing my tip is still going to be honed in on his throat, but it also has an added bonus, right? It's unlikely people are going to aim lower rather than higher. They're going to be aiming for my head, right? So if I drop low and you're starting that crosscut, even if you go a little bit higher, I'm going to have some sort of deflection, right? It may not be great because now we're close enough you can probably blow through it, but I can at least give some resistance as opposed to this guy aimed higher. I can be like, maybe help it along. So, so with this one, so just to see from this angle, it'll be here and here. So it's going to be the exact same thing as our diamond cut block, just a little bit lower, right? So if we do a nice line of that guy, right? So if you give me that cross cut, so I'm going to be at the lower stance to kind of absorb it, and then lower stance to absorb it. Again, if I want to, I can kind of like aim that tip in, right? Again, here and here. And the same thing going in the opposite direction. Again, here, and you block, maybe closer, block, block, and block. And if he's feeling mean and he catches me, he can try to stab me in the throat. All sorts of good things. So this is kind of a combination of active and passive. It's a little bit more on the passive side because I just have it out there, knowing that I could adjust it if it's not exactly what I expected. But that is our second way of deflecting. So our third way, and the most active, it's going to look bad for the receiver, but no, that's actually going to be not that harmful. So that was very ominous. So just like what we said, if you see someone going for a cross cut, first of all, just hit the person before they even start the cut. But if the cross cut's coming towards you, it's not going to look pretty, but it's going to be effective. If you give me that cross cut, just going to strike it out of the air and just, right, be able to counter. So the reason why I say it's not going to look pretty for me is if he gives me that cross cut, he can still have enough momentum to like hit something, but it's not going to be enough to really cut through. Versus if he's giving that cross cut, I can be like bang, bang. If you've ever done kendo, this is very similar to the kote men, right? That wrist strike, head strike, that kind of momentum of strike, strike. You can actually use the rebound of their sword as a rebound for your second strike. So let's do a few of those guys, right? So if you see a cross cut, so obviously don't hit your opponent because you're on the same team, right? So pop, 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 pop. Again, knowing that you could always just stab them, but that's me. So pop, pop, pop. So if I do the same against you, so just hit out of the way. Yep, hit out of the way. 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 Makes sense. So again, crosscut's going to be the least likely to happen for many different reasons. Again, to recap, because you can just stab them as they're doing it. Now, if you're seeing a crosscut as a counter, there's going to be other things you probably want to do, right? So if you do, we'll do that later, actually. That's a higher level idea. So for example, with the combination here where we both met in the center, and he pushed me offline, and I do this move, there is a counter against that, but we'll save that for later. We want to, tease the audience. With that, so make sure you stay safe. These are, particularly this combination, if you're not comfortable, make sure you're wearing gloves. If you're really not comfortable, helmet, face shield, all that fun stuff. So stay safe, stay humble, and keep training. Haidong!